Hi, everyone. Welcome to Get Out of Your Own Way, a way of looking at thoughts, behaviors, and even energy patterns that drain our energy or seem to sabotage us. But really, underneath that, there's wisdom. And in illuminating what's there, it ends up transforming it. So, first, let's get you settled. Some of you may need to have blankets just set or have your tea made, have the salt lamps and the dog put away, or maybe snuggled up with you. Maybe you already saged and opened the four directions. If that's what helps you land going through some of those rituals, then please, by all means, do that. For the rest of you, let all that go and come as you are. So, no requirements today, just being here. Good enough as you are. I appreciate you taking the time and showing up for yourself. Part of being who you are is that during some of these exercises, maybe you're drawn to be resourced in another way, or you're having an insight and I move on to another direction, then stay with what works for you. This is what it can feel like, huh? And so thanks for showing up. Just notice that you're not the only one here, that there are other people in the world. It's so easy to get stuck on the place of like people suck or there's so much bad going on right now. The energy is intense. That's why I thought this would be a great time to do this between the last full moon and spring coming. But notice that there's other people who are also doing their work. This exercise, while it's not therapy, it's meaning to help you really unite with, to connect with those vulnerable parts of self that God inhabits, thought patterns, behaviors, energy patterns that drain your energy, that take away from your vitality, that take away from your mind clarity. So you're invited to be gentle on yourself in this group. And the hope is that as you sit with, instead of trying to control these parts to change, when we really sit with, just like when a friend sits with you and is really willing to hear you out, that sometimes you end up having realizations because as you talk something out or as you listen to your own self and you feel, it starts to transform. And then you get to know a little bit more about it. And then you get to know a little bit more about what you really need. So the exercises tonight will guide you through that, just holding space for your intuition, that it's your inner guidance that's going to show you where to go from here. We're going to use something called the Web of Light. And I just had this one made by somebody I met on Instagram. And it's from Multidimensional Enlightenment. They did a great job. But the idea of expanding beyond ourselves. Now, maybe you're somebody who really enjoys personal growth work and you've read a lot of self-help, or maybe you do your own therapy, but it's nice to have support from something greater, that the energy out in the universe is so incredibly powerful that when we can tap into that, oftentimes it doesn't take much. And maybe you're somebody who doesn't even have reference for that there could be these supports. And so let's just start somewhere. It may just be a light beam. It might be the good moms around the world and their leftover energy, right? Or grandma love from around the world that's been gathered, or healthy men that are there to protect or be playful and be safe. And maybe you don't do people. Maybe it's just animals, or maybe it's just a stream of gold light. One of my favorite places is Mount Rainier. And so this is from Spray Park last year. Just feeling all that rock, all that solidness, that no matter what happens, it's just so steady. And so getting inspiration from that. But as you see this, just notice who or what comes to mind or heart for you. And maybe even drawing a chicken scratch web for yourself. We'll come back to this and use it, but I just wanted to plant a seed of what that might look like or feel like for you. Where do you draw inspiration? Where do you feel more unconditionally loved or emotionally safe? And who is that with? Even if for now it's imaginal. So we're going to start with setting an intention. And I'm guessing from when you saw the title that something came to mind for you. Get out of your own way. How is it that you get in your own way? And it's different for everybody. So you might be able to show up for all five of these sessions and have a different one every time. Or maybe there's one that's been so persistent for you that you're going to work it from different angles and see what you can do. I happen to put perfectionist at the top of the list because that's one that will still show up for me. These aspects of ourselves can be pretty annoying, pretty energy draining, sabotage, like don't seem to be very helpful at all. If I said, oh, well, how's it trying to help you? Like it's not, it's in my way, right? When you look at this list. So just notice what comes to mind for you about some aspect of yourself that you would like to transform. Are you ready? So bring to mind when that part is really going at it. Like maybe it's very critical or it gets so detailed that you can't move forward in a project, or it won't let something go. It thinks over and over again. It loops in your mind, or it frantically thinks of all the things that could go wrong. For now, I want you to stay separate from it, like observe it. If it was a character in a book or a movie that you're watching right now, let it unfold. As you watch it do its thing, notice if it has particular phrases it uses or mannerisms. Maybe it doesn't say anything at all. It's just a big ball of negative energy. Maybe it doesn't say anything at all. It just jumps in and takes care of everything. And maybe without words, it merges with other people's energy. There's like radar that goes out and scans and sees how everybody else is feeling and what everybody else needs, and that it's hard for you to settle unless everybody else is okay. So really observe that one as if it's a book or a movie character. And then notice your judgments or assessments of it. Maybe there's words like, it shouldn't be like that, or it's bad. Now notice its energy. Like, is it slumped over? Is it busy? If it was a color, what would it be? Is it vibrating and buzzing? Or is it a big steel block? It's stubborn, maybe. So notice how it takes up energy. And now for the fun part. Do your best to go embody that part of yourself. And if you can only do it at 50%, that's okay. It's good enough. Do what you can. Be the one that you are watching and see if you can really exaggerate it as if you are on stage and you're really playing up this character. It nitpicks everything, or it notices all the details. It's going to scrub the kitchen floor before going to bed. Whatever its tendencies are, let it play out. Be with it the best you can. Play its role. And the next parts may not come with words. I'm going to convey it with words because that's what we have, but it might come as a felt sense. But as it's going about doing its thing, stay in it, stay in that role. I just want, notice its urges. Drop down into its heart and notice its longing or its desire, its ache. I just want. Notice maybe it gets demanding. It should be this way, or it must. It better be. See if you can answer any of those, end those. And whatever you come up with so far is enough. When we try too hard, when we let the thinking mind try hard, then you'll come up with short version answers and it won't really support and shift things. So just take what you've gotten so far. I just want, now you're going to take that thing and you're going to say, so perfection for me, when perfection is in the driver's seat, perfection might say, I just want it all done right so that you get the things done efficiently. You only have to do them once. Now, you may have caught that. Perfection tends to take hours and hours longer, and it thinks that it's being more efficient so things can be done right and then just done once. But we're not going to argue with it. We're just going to hear it out for now. Okay? And stay with that. So whatever answer it gives you, say, so that you have more time. Or just notice whatever comes. Okay, perfection. So you just want it done right so that it can be done efficiently so that I can have more time so that we can go play. Okay, that's kind of a basic need, but let's just see if there's another one. So that you're lighthearted, so that you rest well. Okay, those all sound like basic needs, but do the so that until it feels done. And if it just starts feeling like chaos, that's okay. You're just showing up the best you can. We're going to do this 4 more times in various ways, but we're going to hit it 4 more times. So just notice if anything concrete came. Okay. And now you're going to ask for support from your web of light. You might be at a loss. You might say, I don't know how to make this one happy. It's always criticizing me. It's always keeping me busy. All it says is it just wants everything done, and I can't win. So inviting in, it could be that you just get grandma love. It could be that there's an animal you play with. Or maybe you get challenged. Whatever feels like is for your greater good, just notice and let that unfold. And for some of you, that may have happened very quickly and maybe multiple things came. But for those of you that are still struggling, it can be a candle of light. It can be remembering some place that you've been, fresh air out in nature, or imagining flying like an eagle. If you're feeling stuck, this is our brain, by the way. This is 3 levels of our brain. The basement brain, the fight, flight, freeze. And then there's a level of just automatic programming. That's the stuff we're working on today that just gets automatically in there. This is our highest and best. Our prefrontal cortex contains new ideas. It can look at different perspectives. It can shift things, transform things. But when they're activated down here, there's no new ideas here. We just loop, we play over and over. And so when you connect to your web of light, you're expanding yourself to support in the universe. It's activating this higher level part of your brain. And when we can connect these two, when this is active at the same time as this, it will change that programming. When we just have the programming activated and we talk ourselves out of it, we coach ourselves out of it, we snap ourselves out of it, it's good to thought stop, but it doesn't really help teach that part how to handle life any differently. So feel free to tune me out if your web of light is really there and connected. Just be receiving. Dissolution happens from illumination, from just being with. So these helpers are just going to come and love on, or maybe grandma rubs hair of a younger one, or you put your head in the lap of somebody like, this is so hard. So let whatever has come from your web of light look into the eyes of this one, this vulnerable part, the frantic Fred or the nervous Nellie, the criticizer. Let them look right into their eyes. They have the ability to feel more deeply. They know the truth. They know that the truth is that behind those eyes is a younger version of you. It's a part of you that got programmed back here. So that means it's like less evolved, right? So it's like it's functioning as a younger part of you. Another way to look at it as that, mean, nasty, critical one who just gets on you all the time, that it's wearing this nasty costume, right? And you can unzip it. Somebody from the web of light could unzip it and see that there's a child in there just trying to make sure that everything is taken care of, everything's perfect, they're not going to miss anything, that they've done things well so that they don't get criticized, whatever was from back then when they got in that habit. Because we don't create these pathways, these patterns in our mind from one-time events. We create them because of a situation that it seemed like the best thing to do over and over again, even if it just gave the facade of control or facade of something better or hope. So when you're ready, you're going to see and hear one from the web of light look into the eyes of the vulnerable one and say, "It's not your fault. I get it. I get why you're like this. I get what you're trying to do. I'm not mad at you. I know that human in there sometimes gets mad at you for doing what you do. I'm not mad at you. I love you. I get that you're doing the best you can with what you have. Now you're going to take what you got, the information you got from earlier. I just want, and it may not be this clear. It's okay if not, but if it is, then we're going to make these links. So in the example, when perfection just wanted things done right, so they only have to be done once, so that it could be efficient, so that there was time, so that there was time for play, then the one from the web of light can say, I get it. You just want to play. I'll play with you right now. And maybe that little one doesn't even know how. So it starts there. If it's not that clear, just let the web of light one, be itself. It's more evolved. It has compassion. And it can just continue to sense and feel and be with this little child soldier, right? This one has relentlessly done this behavior, feels like to you, but it's meant to be for you. And it has felt alone all this time. That's why it jumps in the driver's seat. That's why it takes over, because it doesn't realize that things are different now. And so every time you get upset with yourself and you try to push that part away and you get mad at yourself for having that part, then it feels even more alone. So if you don't have it in you to have compassion for that part, then invite the web of light. Can you just love on it? Can you be with it? I don't feel like I have it in me right now. That would be okay. They don't have to make any promises. They're just there right now with love. So you're embodying your spiritual self now. You're inviting help from a higher, more evolved part of you. It helps raise your vibration. It helps access other brain patterns that can link to this old stuff. When we're in this pattern, it's such a low vibration. And we tend not to feel very inspired to change it. So asking for help from the universe that's so much more powerful, that has so much more light available, can teach us, show us the way. And if you still are getting nothing, or if it's still tricky, then a way to bypass the mind is to say, what if it was a neighbor child? What if it was my grandchild or one of my students? So imagine it being another child who does that behavior, the being frantically nervous or trying to control things or being responsible for everything. How would you feel towards that child? What would you want for them? And what could you offer them? Could it even be the light of a candle flame or a love and light from God, if that's something that you believe in? Or asking one of your angels to go to that child. Offer what you can. So the more that we allow this to be metaphorical, or you just allow yourself to have an experience without trying to figure it out, the more transformation that happens. Everything you experienced so far is part of the answer. And if it was clear enough to have revelations, then those become part of the transformation. If it's not clear, then the experience is part of the transformation. It's the experience that's the evidence to those parts of self that it's not the same as it was back then when the pattern got started. So you're interrupting the pattern, you're bringing in new information to the pattern. And so it's literally linking different patterns from higher level part of your brain to lower level part of your brain. And that's what helps transform it. So this was the beginning of awakening your higher self and getting help from the universe to help transform these patterns. Instead of, wasn't it Einstein who said you can't fix a problem with the same level of thinking that started it? You know, instead of being down in the thick of it and then yelling at yourself that you need to stop doing that old habit. So the strategy we'll practice today is connect to your web of light, bring in that higher vibration, bring in some other love and compassion that maybe you don't have for yourself at the time, and let it begin the transformation. So thank you for taking the time. over the next few weeks, we're going to use other elements, and each time go through those 5 steps, but each time use a different strategy, use a different ally, and see how we can support those vulnerable parts. Thanks for coming.